Thank you, President Yeager and Jonathan Feinberg, for this wonderful honor and for the opportunity to speak to all of you here today, along with my dear friend, Carrie Mae Weems. Carrie knows how much I love and admire her. We wish we could all be together in person. This has been a year of great sacrifice and loss, adaptation and transition. Remote learning has sadly become part of our vernacular, and I'm sure you all made the most of whatever your circumstances would allow. This has been a year that none of us will ever forget. I heard someone say the pandemic has been particularly difficult for the old and the young. I can attest that it has certainly been trying for the old. And I'm sure you all can attest that it has been disruptive and disoriented for the young. We have experienced personal and collective loss and been profoundly impacted by events of this year. Yet here we are, and your resiliency has shown through. We are here to mark and to celebrate this momentous occasion and the culmination of your time at the University of the Arts. I hope you will be embarking into the world with a renewed sense of urgency. The moment in time has shown us how much the arts matter. I am so proud of what you have been already achieved. I've always felt that art education should be a right, not a privilege, and that every child deserves to have quality art instruction as a part of their school day. If you don't give all children, regardless of where they live and their economic circumstance, exposure to the arts and an opportunity to make art of their own, we are building inequity to our artistic landscape. More than that, research has shown that art education has benefits far beyond the arts and themselves and can impact lifelong learning. This is why in 1977, in response to a physical crisis in New York City, I founded Studio in the School along with Patricia Hewitt to bring quality visual arts education back into the city schools, including many in underserved communities that would not otherwise have art instruction. I have devoted so much of my life to advancing art education. It should be important not just to those of us who care about the arts, but to anyone who is committed to social justice. It was actually an artwork, a film that helped spur me into action and showed me it is always possible to make change and do something to try and create the world you want rather than accept the world as it is in the fall of 2016. I had been reading incredibly powerful books like Brian Stevenson's Just Mercy and Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow when my friends Cindy Sherman and Marcus Yu invited me to join them for the premiere of Ava DuVernay's new film 13th on the opening night of the New York Festival. I was hesitant to accept because I feared there would be disturbing footage or violent scenes. Ava's presentation of historical context and startling statistics around mass incarceration helped bring into focus a problem that I don't think I fully understood. There is something so terribly wrong with a system that treats people of color, including children, so harshly. I was horrified and outraged by the scourge of mass incarceration, and it literally moved me to action. The very next morning, I called Darren Walker at the Ford Foundation and said I wanted to help. We officially launched the Art for Justice Fund in the summer of 2017 and have had incredible help from the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. So I thank them both in this time. At its core, we wanted to help transform a legal system that is devastating millions of families and communities across the nation. And there are staggering racial disparities among who is detained. In fact, Black and Brown people are disproportionately impacted by every part of our justice system, from uneven monitoring and policing of their communities to receiving longer sentences for the same crimes as their white counterparts. Our strategy is to fund policy and advocates, ideally working together for lasting cultural and legal change. Our grantee partners are making significant impact. For example, for the first time in 26 years, students who are incarcerated can receive Pell Grants. It has been a long campaign which we were proud to join. With our support, the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition went door to door to achieve success in restoring the right to vote to 1.4 million Floridians who were previously incarcerated. That meant we had to give them, with the help of many others, money to get rid of their previously previous fines that they had not been told at the time they were being let go were there for them to have to do something about. With our support, I was proud of A4J's support for brilliant and tireless work of Stacey Abrams to marshal landmark participation in our democracy. Alongside artists and activists around the country, our grantee partners, Civil Rights Corporation, moved to abolish cash bail and systems and post-conviction fees and fee collection practices. It has achieved success in St. Louis, New Orleans, and Houston. The Equal Justice Initiative, which raised the Peace and Justice Memorial and Legacy Museum in Alabama, that uses sculpture and exhibits to reckon with the painful links between slavery and mass incarceration, was one of our earlier grantees. And that is run by the wonderful Brian Stevenson and is a must-see. If anybody has time to go, they must go to that museum to learn about much of our heritage and what has happened with Blacks in this country, or Blacks and other people that have been unfairly incarcerated. Thanks to our grantee partner campaign for fair sentencing for youth, hundreds of people who were imprisoned as youth and expected to die in prison have been safely released. And thousands have received new sentences that offer hope of a second chance. Even though women continue to be the fastest growing segment of our prison population due to poverty and violence perpetuated against them, their needs are often overshadowed by the needs of incarcerated men. Susan Burton, a national champion for women and the founder of A New Way of Life, is working to change this. With Art for Justice support and based on her own life experiences of formerly incarcerated women, she has built a network of safe houses for hundreds of women coming home from prison, a place where they can raise their children and become leaders themselves. The people most proximate to the harm are suited best to design the solutions. This is something we've always felt. Over the past 4 years, we've widened our community of artist grantee partners, become nimbler in our grant making and bolder in our investments. We have grown in large part by listening to the feedback of the folks we serve. I am hopeful by the work we are doing, and am gratified that we are having a field-wide conversation in the arts about diversity, equity, and inclusion. These issues are urgent and vital, and they impact every aspect of the field. COVID-19 and the events of this past year have held up a lens and made us question our economic, social, and political systems. It has emphasized the stark reality of the systematic racial inequality that disproportionately put people of color at a higher risk during the pandemic. A book I think everyone should read is called The Sum of Us. It's by uh, Heather McKee, which is spelled with a G. So that you can all go out and get it. It, to me, is a wonderful book on this matter and includes many, many other things in it that we would like to know about. She's a very good writer. We have witnessed the disease become politicized, and we are engaged in racial injustice made more visible by the murder of George Floyd and the unprecedented protests and marches around the United States and around the world. In some ways, we are on a precipice of great change. I was struck reading the university's mission statement in particular. We believe creativity is a true catalyst for social and economic change and the most essential skill for success in today's society. I couldn't believe more strongly in that statement. Art is transformational. Art makes a difference with how we live our lives. Art engagement is a source of strength and comfort. You will be our future leaders whose creativity and fortitude will lead us onward to create the world we know is possible. You have the power to inspire, to motivate, to solve problems. Each of you has the power to create the world we imagine. Thank you.